The silence shattered like glass under pressure, and the moment it happened, no one could look away. Jungkook's sharp words cut through the air, directly aimed at Jimin, while Jin stood frozen in disbelief. What could have pushed the youngest member to scold the one he usually treats like a brother? Why was Jin's reaction so visibly shaken? And most importantly, what was Jimin on the verge of revealing that forced such a tense confrontation in front of witnesses? This incident has now spiraled into one of the most pressing mysteries surrounding the group, one that has left fans restless, demanding answers and questioning what truly lies behind the silence. The setting was deceptively calm. A beach at dusk, the ocean steady and unthreatening, the kind of environment where peace should reign. Yet, the atmosphere shifted instantly when Jimin admitted something he should not have allowed to slip. He confessed that a particular song, one whose very existence has remained shrouded in secrecy, was almost revealed. The words trembled on his lips, pushing against his restraint, threatening to escape. In that exact moment, Jin intervened with an uncharacteristically stern command, ordering him to stay silent. But silence was not enough to contain what followed. Jungkook, with calculated precision, added his own warning. If Jimin was ever to speak, it must be done carefully, subtly, only once it had been confirmed. That exchange, brief as it may have been, set off a chain of shockwaves. It was not simply a playful argument or casual disagreement between friends. It carried the weight of consequence, the kind of heaviness that fans immediately recognized as unnatural. Questions erupted like fire across every platform. What is this song? Why does its premature mention terrify even the most composed members? And why did Jungkook, normally the quiet observer, step forward with such decisive authority against Jimin? Observers of the scene noted that Jimin's tone was not one of lighthearted excitement. It was heavy, conflicted, even desperate. His words were not the slips of someone teasing about a surprise. They were the words of someone who felt burdened by knowledge too great to keep, someone torn between loyalty to secrecy and the unbearable pressure of silence. Jin's immediate and sharp response, instead of soothing him, only deepened the mystery. His voice cut through the tension not as an older brother protecting a secret for fun, but as a figure carrying the weight of something that could not be exposed without severe consequences. What startled everyone further was Jin's visible state. Fans who have long worried about his well-being noted that his reaction seemed more than protective. It seemed urgent, as though silence was a matter of survival. Was this a moment of authority, or was it a mask for fragility? For months, speculation has surrounded Jin's condition, and now this moment casts an even darker shadow. If his insistence on silence carried such weight, what exactly was at stake? Jungkook's intervention changed everything. Unlike Jin's commanding tone, Jungkook's words carried precision, as though he was choosing them with strategy in mind. He did not shut Jimin down entirely. Instead, he redirected him. If the song must be spoken of, let it be after confirmation, let it be subtle, let it be controlled. This was not brotherly banter. It was strategy, a reminder that timing is everything. Jungkook's demeanor suggested awareness that the machinery surrounding them, the expectations, the management, the fan anticipation, could collapse into chaos if a single step was taken out of order. His scolding was not about protecting Jimin from himself, but about protecting the group from unraveling. The aftermath has been explosive. The beach gathering, once imagined as a casual, lighthearted scene, is now remembered for its sharp fracture of unity. Fans have replayed every detail, dissecting tone, expression, and body language. Theories multiply with every passing hour. Some believe the song is directly tied to their long-anticipated reunion, carrying truths too sensitive to reveal prematurely. Others argue it may expose struggles endured during separation, pain that could shift public perception if unveiled without context. A smaller, louder faction believes Jimin's near slip was not only about music but about frustration, a crack in the wall of silence he has been forced to maintain for too long. The weight of secrecy has now become a burden in itself. Silence has grown louder than any announcement, louder than any teaser. Every day, without clarity amplifies tension. What was once simply curiosity has transformed into unease. The global fanbase does not only want answers, they feel entitled to them. Years of loyalty and waiting have made every unfinished sentence from the members feel like a betrayal when left unresolved. The paradox is sharp. The more they hold back, the stronger the speculation becomes. The beach, instead of being remembered for laughter and calm, will now forever symbolize suppressed tension, the moment when unspoken truths strained to break free. Jimin's conflicted face, Jin's urgent command, and Jungkook's strategic scolding are not just fragments of an exchange. They are puzzle pieces to a larger story still locked away. The questions that linger are haunting. What is this song that terrifies them to mention? Why does Jin's reaction feel heavier than simple secrecy? And why did Jungkook, usually the silent anchor, decide that scolding Jimin publicly was the only way to protect the moment? Until the truth emerges, every pause, every glance, and every silence will continue to be scrutinized. For now, one reality is undeniable. The unsung song has already become louder than any melody. And until its meaning is revealed, the storm of speculation will not fade. The group's silence is no longer simply withholding information. It is shaping a narrative more powerful, more dangerous, and more unforgettable than any official announcement could ever be. The incident refuses to fade, and instead it grows, taking on new dimensions as fans analyze every angle. The silence following Jimin's near confession has not eased the storm but intensified it. The more the members refuse to elaborate, the more the global audience interprets this moment as a turning point, not just a slip of the tongue. Jungkook's scolding, which at first seemed harsh, is now understood as a protective measure, a desperate attempt to guard against an uncontrollable spiral. Yet the very act of controlling Jimin in such a public way has only drawn more attention. Why scold so sharply if the matter was not critical? Why did Jin, who normally plays mediator, freeze in shock instead of softening the exchange? Theories now branch into countless directions. Some argue that the song is no ordinary track, but a symbolic piece tied to unresolved fractures within the group. If revealed too soon, it might expose truths carefully hidden for years. Others suggest it holds coded messages, references that could be interpreted as commentary on their separation, or worse, as indirect revelations about tensions that management fears to admit. The fact that Jimin himself seemed unable to restrain his desire to speak suggests the burden is not just about music. It is emotional, personal, and pressing. Meanwhile, Jin's reaction continues to dominate discussion. His sharp command felt less like authority and more like desperation. Fans who have long monitored his condition question whether he is truly in control or whether he is being forced to carry a responsibility too heavy for his state. His silence afterward, his stillness, the absence of his usual warmth. These are details replayed endlessly. Was this a sign of strain, of hidden fragility behind a protective mask? The image of him standing frozen is now etched into collective memory as a symbol of the weight he carries, unseen but undeniable. Jungkook's words, calm yet cutting, remain the sharpest clue. Only subtly, only after confirmation, a line that fans dissect word by word. Confirmation from whom? Subtle by whose standards? The precision of his phrasing suggests not improvisation but awareness of consequences.
He was not just speaking to Jimin.
He was speaking to everyone watching, reminding them that revelation is a matter of timing, strategy, and survival. His scolding was not a moment of anger, but of necessity. In that instant, Jungkook revealed himself not as the youngest, but as the strategist, the one who sees beyond emotion into the fragile machinery holding everything together. The incident on the beach has now become a paradoxical silence that speaks louder than revelation. What should have been forgotten laughter is now global speculation. Every second of hesitation, Every raised voice, every glance between members has become evidence in an investigation without end. Until answers are given, fans will continue to connect fragments, building theories that grow more dramatic by the day. And the longer silence prevails, the greater the explosion will be when truth finally breaks through. The weight of that moment has now solidified into a permanent question mark hanging over the group's future. Jimin's restless desire to speak, Jin's urgent command to silence him, and Jungkook's calculated scolding have fused into a single narrative that no one can ignore. What was meant to remain hidden has instead become louder in absence, echoing endlessly across discussions. Fans describe the scene as unbearable, the kind of tension that leaves even silence feeling hostile. Each replay of the video, each translation of their words, only deepens the conviction that something monumental lies behind the guarded song. Until it surfaces, the shadow of that beach will define every step they take forward. The silence that descended after Jimin's near confession has now become more unsettling than any spoken word, and the confrontation between Jungkook, Jimin, and Jin continues to echo with a gravity that cannot be dismissed. Yet an equally critical question arises. Do we, as observers, accept this moment as authentic, or should we treat it as a carefully designed spectacle? Was Jungkook truly scolding Jimin out of urgency, or was the interaction orchestrated to capture the attention of millions? The distinction matters, because in the absence of verifiable facts, the risk of manipulation becomes as powerful as the truth itself. The tension of that evening on the beach has been dissected through countless platforms, TikTok clips looping endlessly, YouTube analyses drawing frame-by-frame interpretations, Twitter threads building speculative narratives. But how much of this is evidence, and how much is projection? Can we truly claim to know what was said and meant when every detail is filtered through the lenses of translation, perception, and bias? If Jimin's words carried such weight, why did the group allow the moment to occur in public at all? Conversely, if it was staged, why risk damaging their carefully cultivated image with a performance so divisive? This leads to the uncomfortable reflection. Do fans want truth, or do they want drama? The silence of the members has given birth to 1,000 interpretations, yet none confirmed. Does this silence signify genuine fragility, or is it a deliberate strategy to heighten anticipation? Jin's commanding tone, was it truly born of desperation, or was it rehearsed to appear that way? Jungkook's scolding, was it spontaneous, or a calculated move to project authority? The possibility that this entire event was scripted cannot be ignored, yet rejecting its authenticity feels equally unsatisfying. Which interpretation do we accept, and why? Every observer must now ask themselves, are we consuming truth, or are we consuming a narrative carefully crafted to appear raw? In the modern media landscape, where virality often outweighs accuracy, can we trust that what we witnessed was unfiltered? Or should we consider that even vulnerability can be commodified, repackaged as content for attention? If this scene was authentic, its implications are profound. Fractures within a beloved group, struggles with secrecy, and the unbearable pressure of global expectation. But if it was not authentic, then we must confront the possibility that our emotions are being deliberately manipulated. Which possibility is more unsettling? Hidden conflict or manufactured drama? The responsibility now lies not only with the members, but with us as observers. Do we surrender to the narrative, allowing speculation to shape our belief, or do we hold ourselves to a higher standard of skepticism? How do we verify what is real in an age where clips circulate faster than context, where headlines are written for impact rather than accuracy? If the information we consume comes from TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, and viral tweets, are we truly informed or merely entertained by fragments? Does the rapid spread of unverified claims serve the truth, or does it distort it until nothing reliable remains? The provocation here is direct. Perhaps the story of Jungkook scolding Jimin and Jin shock is both real and unreal at the same time. real in the sense that it occurred, but unreal in the sense that its interpretation has been shaped into something far larger than the event itself. Fans see what they want to see. Some interpret sincerity, others performance. The ambiguity fuels obsession. But should ambiguity itself be enough to command our belief? Or should it drive us toward restraint, caution, and reflection? Consider this. If the song Jimin nearly revealed truly exists, then silence protects not only the group's strategy, but their cohesion. But if no such song exists, then the entire confrontation collapses into performance, a hoax designed to manufacture tension. Which scenario benefits them more? Which scenario benefits us less? Are we complicit in sustaining a cycle where speculation is more profitable than fact? And if so, what does this say about the relationship between artists and their audiences in the digital age? The lesson is sobering. Until evidence is verified, every retelling of this moment is speculation dressed as truth. Every headline, every analysis, every emotional reaction feeds a machine that thrives on uncertainty. Should we allow ourselves to be carried by that current, or should we resist it? Should we demand confirmation rather than indulge in conjecture? Should we question not only the group's silence, but also our own willingness to consume ambiguity as entertainment? The incident at the beach, whether authentic fracture or calculated performance, has become more than a story about music. It is a mirror reflecting our own hunger for revelation, our impatience with silence, and our vulnerability to manipulation. We must ask, do we want clarity? Or do we want the thrill of endless speculation? Do we crave truth? Or do we crave drama disguised as truth? Until these questions are answered, the tension will persist. And perhaps that is the true strategy, because speculation sustains attention longer than certainty ever could. The unsung song, the scolding, the silence, all of it may be less about what actually happened and more about what we choose to believe. The responsibility then rests with us. Will we remain passive consumers of doubt, or will we demand the discipline of verification? The answer to that will determine whether this moment is remembered as revelation or as deception. Under the weight of such ambiguity, the debate surrounding this incident refuses to die down. Instead, it expands, mutating into endless discussions, arguments, and reflections that reveal as much about the audience as they do about the group itself. Yet the crucial challenge persists. How do we separate reality from illusion? Authenticity from manipulation? Was the confrontation between Jungkook and Jimin a spontaneous eruption of tension, or was it carefully staged to ensure precisely this outcome? Unending speculation? And if it was indeed staged, does that diminish its impact, or does it prove the power of performance in shaping collective perception? The reactions of fans highlight the intensity of this dilemma. Some insist that Jimin's expression carried a truth no actor could imitate, the strained conflict of a man unable to hold back words that pressed against him like a tide. Others, however, argue that every gesture was too perfect, too cinematic, as though rehearsed for maximum effect. Which interpretation deserves more weight? Should sincerity be measured by appearance? Or should we acknowledge the possibility that what looks real can still be artifice? Jin's role in this drama only sharpens the question. His command for silence was not gentle, it was urgent, almost desperate. To those who believe the moment was authentic, this urgency reflects the heavy responsibility he carries, a man determined to protect the group from collapse. To skeptics, it appears as deliberate performance, intended to project authority and spark precisely the kind of theories now dominating global discourse. Which version convinces us more? The fragile leader struggling to maintain control, or the skilled actor delivering a calculated line? And if we cannot decide, does that uncertainty serve the truth, or the machinery of spectacle? Jungkook's scolding continues to be the most dissected element of all. His words, calm yet firm, measured yet final, have been interpreted as evidence of foresight, as though he alone understood the danger of premature revelation. Yet this very calculation has prompted others to suspect the opposite, that his response was crafted not in the heat of the moment, but in preparation for it. Should we believe in instinct or in choreography? Is Jungkook the strategist caught protecting fragile timing, or the performer enacting a script? The impossibility of answering fuels the speculation further, binding audiences in the grip of doubt. IT is in this tension between authenticity and performance that the true story may reside. If we choose to believe it was real, we must accept that fractures within the group are deeper than previously acknowledged, that silence conceals burdens threatening to break free. But if we choose to believe it was staged, then we must confront the uncomfortable truth that even vulnerability can be commodified, transformed into a product to maintain attention. Which is more unsettling, that our idols are fractured, or that their fractures are manufactured? And what does it say about us that we willingly participate in either version, so long as it sustains our engagement? The sources of this narrative complicate the matter further. TikTok edits, Twitter threads, YouTube analyses. All of them amplify fragments without context, offering interpretations that spread faster than verification. Yet can any of these platforms provide certainty, or do they thrive precisely because they cannot? When information circulates at such speed, can truth survive, or does it inevitably dissolve into entertainment? Should audiences trust these fragments, or should skepticism be their first response? And if skepticism is necessary, why do so many abandon it for the thrill of sensation? In reflecting on this incident, we must confront our own complicity. Do we consume stories for truth or for drama? Do we share them because we believe, or because the act of sharing itself provides satisfaction? When Jin's silence is replayed, when Jimin's hesitation is slowed frame by frame, when Jungkook's words are analyzed as though they contain hidden codes, are we searching for meaning or manufacturing it? And if we are manufacturing meaning, when examined more deeply, the dilemma between truth and manipulation is precisely what makes the beach incident so unforgettable in collective memory. The questions that emerge are no longer only about the unsung song or the sharp reprimand that slipped from Jungkook's lips, but about how the public perceives reality in an era when everything can be polished, edited, and framed to serve a purpose. Were we truly witnessing a crack in the group's unity, or were we simply watching fragments of a script carefully designed to generate worldwide uproar? What becomes striking is the way fans themselves have become part of the narrative. Every forum discussion, every long thread on social media, even a short emotional comment, all of it adds new layers to the story. Facts blur with assumptions, analysis merges with illusion, until the actual event and the public's interpretations can no longer be separated. This phenomenon demonstrates that the power of a moment is derived not only from authenticity, but also from the way communities capture and spread it. The multiplication of theories, frame-by-frame dissections, and linguistic debates over every word uttered have transformed the confrontation into something larger than the group itself. In this sense, the silence that followed Jimin's near revelation is not merely absence of speech. It has become the fuel that powers a global conversation. Ironically, the very lack of confirmation has given birth to an infinite series of interpretations, each one feeding the hunger of those unwilling to accept uncertainty. The mystery itself becomes the product. Consider how entertainment industries thrive on ambiguity, a confirmed story and speculation, but an unresolved moment lives indefinitely. If the beach confrontation was spontaneous, then it represents the unfiltered weight of pressure carried by individuals trapped in the machinery of global fame. But if it was orchestrated, then it is a masterstroke in narrative design, ensuring that attention remains fixed even in the absence of new material. In both cases, the outcome is the same. The audience remains bound, unable to look away, yet therein lies the uncomfortable truth. The obsession with the event tells us as much about ourselves as it does about the group. Do fans truly want clarity, or do they crave the thrill of interpreting signs that may never be explained? Every replay, Every subtitle, every screenshot analyzed for hidden meaning suggests that ambiguity itself is more addictive than revelation. Certainty brings closure, but speculation offers endless engagement. In the digital age, engagement is the ultimate currency. The members' roles within the moment continue to fuel competing narratives. Jimin is cast as the restless truth-bearer, burdened with knowledge too heavy to keep. Jin becomes the fragile guardian, his desperate command embodying either authority or vulnerability, depending on interpretation. Jungkook emerges as the strategist, either acting with spontaneous foresight or delivering a carefully scripted line designed to project control. Each role is simultaneously human and symbolic, feeding both empathetic concern and dramatic fascination. What complicates matters further is the ecosystem in which this drama unfolds. Platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube thrive not on verified truth, but on fragments compelling enough to be shared. The rapid spread of these fragments guarantees virality, but undermines clarity. Audiences, confronted with endless repetition of half-contextualized moments, are forced to choose. Either believe in the fragments as truth or accept that they are participating in a cycle of entertainment that masquerades as authenticity.